Let's talk now about the COVID files, another big piece of this. So here's a fun fact for you. The mainstream broadcast networks have devoted exactly 0 minutes. Can you friggin' believe this? 0 minutes to the coverage of the Twitter files. 0. ABC, CBS, NBC, 0 minutes of coverage of the Twitter files. Arguably one of the biggest press stories.
Your government is meeting with private tech to tell you what you can and cannot say. You're fine with that? You don't find that interesting?
But they know that they're implicated. I mean, them covering this shows that they were getting the same information from the same people. So it would be damning for them to cover this because they'd be like, well, I guess, we were saying the exact same thing about the Hunter Biden laptop. We were saying the exact same things that they're banning people for. So.
Well, I mean, we already know, and we certainly know the behind-the-scenes stuff at ABC as it related to a couple of big stories. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein specifically.
Oh, yeah,
remember?
Absolutely.
Like, why didn't they come forward with that? That was purposefully kept silent at ABC News. Like, wouldn't it be amazing to see forget YouTube and Twitter files. Wouldn't it be amazing to see the mainstream media files and see how those guys, hide information, disseminate information? So, will we see the COVID files covered by any of the mainstream media? And what will we see in the COVID files? This is really the one that I'm waiting for. Perhaps the most important piece of the story is about to drop, and they won't probably cover it. I would love to see Lester Holt cover the story. We are awaiting the COVID files from Elon Musk, the massive document dump from Musk over COVID suppression. We saw a few hints of it there in that Barry Weiss of the Twitter Files 5.0. Here is the tweet, though, that sent off the explosion yesterday on your Sunday. My pronouns are prosecute and Fauci, Elon Musk tweeted.
So he's taken all the hot buttons that you're not supposed to say and put them all in one place. Let's see.
One little tweet.
Oh, gender ideology, check. COVID, check. Free speech, check. He's pretty much got all of it in one tweet.
Fauci?
I couldn't have crafted this any better. Yeah.
So what will we?
Wanted to hit
I know
on all the ways.
It's only 5 words, and he managed that much. He really pissed off a lot of people because he tweeted later, he said the branch COVIDians are out to get me. They were really upset about it. So anyway, he says, so what will we see in these COVID files from Elon Musk? We have some indications that could reach all the way to the White House. And we're already seeing the deep state CIA trying to protect Fauci. So CIA, John Brennan, tweeted this in response to his tweet about about Fauci. Here's John Brennan, former CIA. Dr. Fauci is a national hero who will be remembered for generations to come for his innate goodness and many contributions to public health. Oh, yeah. Despite your business success, you will be remembered most for fueling public hate and divisions. You have money, but you have no class, John Brennan writes. Now, of course, John Brennan was one of the people saying that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, you'll recall. So you might be remembered for that, John Brennan. John Brennan, of course, along with 50 other former intelligence officials, say that the Hunter Biden smear smells like Russia. Just weeks before the election in 2020, he, along with 50 other guys like James Clapper, Leon Panetta, all of these clowns.
That stifled any kind of conversation because anytime you brought up the alternative, anytime you said no, this was a real story. They're like, no, 50 of these high level people said it was true. So it's like, that's like propaganda 101. Like, yeah, of course they're going to say it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, these 50 guys. Oh, you mean these 51 guys? Oh, these are all former CIA and FBI guys. These are high level guys. They know disinformation when they see it. So all of these guys signed this letter saying the laptop was a job of the Russians. So, of course, he'd come out and support Fauci. Here's another tweet in support of Fauci that I loved from a professor overnight. This one is Professor Peter Hotez. He's an MD, PhD. For the record, Dr. Fauci has done nothing wrong, he writes, except serve our nation. In the meantime, Mr. Musk should know that 200,000 Americans needlessly lost their lives from COVID due to this kind of anti-science rhetoric and disinformation. Elon, I'm asking you to take down this tweet. So how about the fact that Dr. Fauci funded the research that created COVID in the first place, frankly, lied to our faces about lockdowns. We've played that sound many, many times.
Lied under oath about funding that research. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and I want to point out also that there's no way, as the guy who ran that organization, that nothing happened without him approving it. Because he's the one that divvied up the funds. He knew everything that was happening because it had to get his approval. There's no way they would have just been doing side jobs like, oh, we'll just do it. Like, he'll never know. Like,
well, he said as much in his deposition that we went over last week that was released from November. He said, I didn't really know about that stuff. When there were exceptions to be made about gain of function, didn't make it all the way up to me. I'm very busy. You're right, David. It's extremely hard to believe that there's a ban of gain of function since 2015, but some projects were issued an exception and it didn't make it to his desk.
Yeah, like Boston University, like we covered that story. So the Boston University research, the North Carolina research, of course, the Wuhan lab research. You don't mean to tell me. And then here, to go back to John Brennan's tweet or this professor's tweet, he's done nothing wrong except serve our nation, basically. Well, so what you're saying then is what did he do? He either served our nation well with distinction or he did these other things and he didn't know about them. So then he was either completely incompetent, right? Mm-hmm. He was completely incompetent or totally ignorant or both. Incompetent and ignorant, or he was totally in on it. So if you're praising him, then what are you praising exactly? Because he said publicly now, I didn't know about it. But he's lied under oath about it.
What is it that we're praising then?
Exactly.
Because
I want to know.
He was good on Meet the Press many times.
Like he they made a Dr. Fauci doll and people were like, and they were going to call him Person of the Year.
Because he did say in that deposition, I'm very busy. I give a lot of media interviews. I write a lot of pieces for,
He was the highest paid, so he does have that going for him. Like
he was the highest paid federal employee. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Peter Hotez writes this second tweet. I have a couple of these here. He says, I detail how I got to 200,000 unnecessary deaths in my they pimps his book out. In my forthcoming 2023 book with Johns Hopkins University Press, The Deadly Rise of Anti-Science. This includes 40,000 needless deaths in Texas alone, which I wrote in recently. And then he says, bottom line, anti-science aggression. This is my favorite new phrase. I laughed out loud. I almost spit out my coffee when I read this. Bottom line, he says, anti-science aggression and disinformation was a leading cause of death in the United States in 2021 and 2022. Anti-science aggression kills more Americans than just about any other societal force. Hey, do you have a loved one that maybe died of heart disease? Well, more people die from anti-science aggression. I'm going to see these commercials now on TV. Like yesterday, we were watching a game. Every commercial was for some other pharmaceutical drug. You know that this is coming.
Anti-science aggression.
Is someone in your family suffering from anti-science aggression? We have something that can solve that.
He's actually not wrong if you associate that to Fauci, because Fauci's science. So if you associate what he's actually done, then he's actually correct.
Yeah, he is science.
But if he ties it to science, right? If he ties it to Fauci, but he's trying to disassociate it with Fauci.
Anti-science aggression. Can anyone figure out what the hell
I don't
he's
know
talking
about these numbers, given that we now have numbers on excess deaths. So you're comparing a teeter-totter. If you're saying that people died because of maybe not doing what he wanted you to do, which was take a COVID vaccine or lockdown,
right, versus
people who would have otherwise. But now we have excess deaths, which is tipping this needle way up past 40,000 in many places.
I can't wait to read his book.
I don't know.
All I got to say is, this guy, I'm going to read his anti-science aggression book, and if you bother me, I'm going to label you a microaggression.
Okay, all right. I'm just interested in these numbers because we are not enumerate here.
I would love to have him on and Dr. Peter McCullough. We'll do a debate. Your anti-aggression, your anti-science aggression with Dr. Peter McCullough. Here's Rand Paul, Senator Rand Paul.
These people would never agree to it.
Could you imagine Rand Paul doing this? He tweeted this: Fauci's resignation should not prevent a full-throated investigation into the origins of the pandemic. He must be required to testify under oath regarding any discussions he participated in concerning the Wuhan lab leak. His policies destroyed lives. Oh, Senator, that's anti-science aggression coming out of you. I'd be careful about that. So just to set the record straight on Dr. Fauci's lies, this is a great mashup that was put together last night of those lies, of Dr. Fauci's lies. Just watch this. Grab your popcorn.
I don't know how many times I can say it, Madam Chair. We did not fund gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
In our health lead, we now know that a bat coronavirus was enhanced in a lab.
NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute.
The National Institutes of Health acknowledged that it funded research of a virus that was studied at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The experiment unexpectedly, we're told, made a bat coronavirus more contagious than the original naturally occurring one.
Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement.
A new letter raising questions about experiments in a Wuhan lab.
Let me finish.
You take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans.
Right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about.
For years, the National Institutes of Health provided grant money to the EcoHealth Alliance Research Group, which conducted experiments with bat coronaviruses in Wuhan, China.
And if anybody is lying here, Senator, it is you. That's where you are getting. Let me finish.
We don't know.
Well, wait a minute.
It did come from the lab, but all the evidence is pointing that it came from the lab. And there will be responsibility for those who funded the lab, including yourself.
National Institute of Health admitted this week that it funded controversial gain-of-function research using coronaviruses at a lab in China at the epicenter of the pandemic, contradicting claims from Dr. Anthony Fauci that American tax dollars never paid for that kind of research.
I have not lied before Congress. I have never lied, certainly not before Congress. Case closed.
Okay.
Case closed.
Now, can I
point something? Sorry, I want to point something out real quick while it's still fresh in my mind. So something that Jake Tapper said, where he was doing his thing in that bit, where he says scientists unexpectedly made it more transmissible. They had to have expected that's what was happening, because that's how science works. You don't just like, hey guys, I've got a bag of DNA. Let's put it in this virus and see what happens. That's not really how it works. There's an anticipated outcome when you're dealing with science. That's just my take on it. I wasn't there, but I want to point that out. That kind of threw me. I was like, what do you mean unexpected?
Those accidents don't happen.
A bag of DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, Mary Curie unexpectedly got cancer from radiation poisoning because we didn't know that was a thing. But when dealing with DNA, we kind of know what it does. That's what the whole point of, like, knocking out DNA and replacing it with something, because you kind of know what it does.
Okay.
Anyway,
Thank you for that.
Yes. I think that's anti-science aggression coming out inside of you.
It's aggression. But
that's aggression.
Yeah. Can I ask a question, though?
Please.
Let's just ask the question. This tweet from Elon Musk, my pronouns are prosecute Fauci, is it needlessly antagonistic?
Needlessly?
I think it's perfectly antagonistic.
I get it, but you are antagonistic sometimes too, like that.
I know, but I feel like if we just let these narrations play the way that we have, like everybody has to kowtow and kind of bow to that. What happens is it gets escalated like it has, because people weren't allowed to say anything. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And now we look at where we are with gender ideology and stuff. It's because it wasn't, dealt with a little bit more aggressively in the beginning, is my personal feeling.
I mean, he literally lied in front of Congress. So if people all over Twitter could have said this about Trump, they called for the prosecution of X, every day. Right? So why can't we call for the prosecution of someone who, in front of us, we just showed you the video, lied to the American people?
Yeah.
And how many hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people died?
Yes.
Right? So if you can't say that about this guy, what can you say? Who can you say it about?
Well, I'm just saying that in his effort to sort of promote free speech, he seems to be participating in a lot of it.
Good.
And that's fine.
Good.
But will he catch more flies with honey and endear people who don't want to see the merits of free speech with this? And I'm sorry, David, I didn't mean to say you are antagonistic, because I shouldn't label you things.
No, I'll take that label.
David's antagonistic.
Okay.
It's totally fine.
Okay, but I don't like to call people things unless it's Clayton. Yeah.
Unless it's me.
Clayton, I
ate my own placenta.
So
I did.
So, all right, let's get back. Reporters tried asking the White House about their involvement with these social media companies this week, but they are denying any involvement. So let's be clear. We've been clear. I mean, we've been clear. Let's be clear. We've been clear. The White House has never interfered or colluded with social media companies, they say. It's up to tech platforms to make their own decisions. Let's be clear. Free of any interference from the government. Let's be clear. Watch.
Twitter, Elon Musk this week fired the former FBI General Counsel Jim Baker, who was serving as a top Twitter lawyer. Musk alleges that he may have been involved with countermanding his attempts at transparency. And I was wondering if anyone in the Biden administration was in touch with Baker, either regarding moderation decisions that critics call political censorship or regarding his transparency efforts recently.
So it's up to private companies to make these types of decisions. We were not involved. I can say that. We were not involved.
Okay, follow-up question. Do you want to know if the Justice Department is involved in this now? Because you're now involved. Your administration is in power. This happened under Trump. Is there any reason to believe it's not happening further?
Yeah,
How about
is the president outraged? Is the president outraged
Is
to
the
find out
president concerned
that the FBI and the CIA were meeting weekly, or the FBI was meeting weekly with Twitter to influence what Twitter was allowed, what was sent, like posts by former members of Congress, people
Would you
running
like
for
to
office?
Preclude this from happening again? How about that?
They're not concerned about that. So
Well,
it
that's
is
what
interesting.
I was going to say about your point that you said, Natalie, about attracting more flies with honey than vinegar. Like Elon has given them a lot of honey. I mean, he has done the child trafficking thing. Like that was done in like 2 weeks versus the years that Twitter had. So he has been.
The deep state didn't care about that. They didn't want it.
I know, but you're saying like with honey. So he's trying to give them things that should get them on board with what he's doing. We should all be on board with that. We should all be on board with free speech. So he's trying the honey, and the honey isn't working on that side because nothing's going to work on that side. Yeah,
I mean, it's amazing. This is the same guy that they were praising, right? A few months ago when he was giving Starlink satellites to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Right. Like he's the savior. You know, he's the savior. And
right.
And then when he reveals the deep state censorship that has been unfolding, now he's like the worst thing in the world. We got to investigate this guy.
Yeah.
So it is interesting that Corinne Jean-Pierre says that they're not involved. They have nothing involved. It's a private company. We don't involve ourselves in that, which is total bullshit. Because I seem to remember his predecessor, Psaki, telling us that they were involved and actively working to censor posts. Watch.
Thanks, Jen. Can you talk a little bit more about this request for tech companies to be more aggressive in policing misinformation? Has the administration been in touch with any of these companies, and are there any actions that the federal government can take to ensure their cooperation? Because we've seen from the start there's not a lot of action on some of these platforms.
Sure. Well, first, we are in regular touch with these social media platforms, and those engagements typically happen through members of our senior staff, but also members of our COVID-19 team. Given, as Dr. Murthy conveyed, this is a big issue of misinformation, specifically on the pandemic. In terms of actions, Alex, that we have taken, or we're working to take, I should say, from the federal government, we've increased disinformation research and tracking within the Surgeon General's office. We're flagging problematic posts for Facebook that spread disinformation.
Oh, so you're literally flag. I mean, God, there's so many things to unpack there.
Do you think it's coincidence that she left shortly after that statement? Like it was not long after that she was pretty much planning her departure.
Maybe. I mean, first of all, just the first part of that with the reporter, the activist reporter, you know, because clearly these social platforms are not doing enough to police this information. Is your White House doing anything to stop people speaking freely about an experimental jab that people may not want in their lives, or these children that are being forced into lockdowns? These people are taking to these social platforms and they're telling stories about their children who are suffering by going to these schools where they have to wear masks and their development is being hindered. You don't want people to be able to speak publicly about that kind of stuff, do you, Jen? Like, what is this administration doing to censor this stuff? Well, we're actively working on it. We're specifically where she says the Surgeon General. We're literally having the Surgeon General at the Surgeon General's office flagging problematic posts to Facebook. making sure that these platforms are taking action on these things quickly and effectively. This is unbelievable. It's right there. So Corinne Jean-Pierre doesn't remember that? Here is Jen Psaki on disinformation. Listen to this.
We believe that all of us, social media companies, platforms, where a lot of this misinformation travels, the media, state and local officials, it's important for everybody to step up. And certainly the pushback against disinformation, information that is, literally a matter of life and death, is something that is going to be a continued focus of this administration. You are right that obviously decisions to regulate or hold to account any platform would certainly be a policy decision, but in the interim, we're going to continue to call out disinformation and call out where that information travels.
Does the president have plans to speak with Mark Zuckerberg at all about this?
There's no plans that I'm aware of. Go ahead.
So we'll just round out this segment with this point. So Dr. Fauci was just speaking with Judy Woodruff. So Philip, if we can pull that soundbite up. So he was speaking with Judy Woodruff about this, and she was sort of giving him a post-mortem on his time and laying out the criticisms, basically, call him out for his lack of transparency on all of these topics, and watch his response, smug as ever.
But another criticism is that you and other public health officials were not transparent enough at points along the way about what you knew and what you didn't know about COVID.
Yeah, that's nonsense. That is total nonsense that we weren't transparent about it. What the public needed to know, and perhaps we could have done a better job, is that we were dealing with a dynamic, evolving situation.
Yeah, you weren't. You were totally transparent. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at Redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to Redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.